Are you thinking about building in Philadelphia? Whether it's single-family townhomes, a condo building, or a larger multi-unit, if you don't understand the development process here, you are going to lose time and money fast. In this video, I'm going to break down step by step the roadmap to successfully develop real estate in Philadelphia. Myself and my team have been involved in over 200 million in land and new construction sales here in Philadelphia. And personally, I've gone through the development process myself. I had to go and get a variance for a 6-unit ground up multi-unit project that I built with a partner. So whether you're a first-time developer or looking to scale, I do have some insight into an actual framework that you can use to develop real estate in Philadelphia. My name's Marco DiGabriele, and I'm a real estate agent, investor, and developer here in the city. And my goal is to give you everything you need to profitably build, buy, or invest in real estate in Philadelphia. If you're a developer or investor looking to source land, analyze deals, or sell your next project, shoot me an email and drop a comment below. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you never miss a breakdown. So the first step to developing land in Philadelphia is actually finding land and finding the right land. So you want to know what you want to build and then go based off of that to actually find the land that you want to develop. A lot of early investors who don't have a lot of experience just go and buy a lot without putting a whole lot of thought into it. So they don't really know what the zoning is or whether that lot is feasible for what they want to build. So some of the things to look for are, if you want to build single family, just one-off, you want RSA 5 zoning. If you want multifamily, you might want RM1 zoning. If you want a larger mixed-use commercial building, you're going to want CMX2, CMX2.5, or something that's zoned higher than that. So I use tools like Atlas to actually go and view parcels, because that will actually tell you what the zoning and dimensions of those parcels are. And it gives you a lot of good public record information to give you a lot of information on the zoning and the overlays of the parcels that you're looking at. And the final thing I'd say for this step about finding the right land is just making sure that you have someone look at the feasibility before you purchase the land. You should probably talk to an architect, or at the very least a real estate agent, just to confirm that what you want to build on the land is actually what you can build based on the zoning code or based on the size. Sometimes there will be land listed that is too small to actually build a feasible home on. So you'll see homes in the area that are selling for $600,000 or $700,000 new construction and think that you can buy a piece of land in that neighborhood and sell your home for the same amount. But because the size of the land is so small, you're not going to be able to build an actually comparable home, and that's just going to shoot you in the foot. So that's one of the most important things to look at, is the land that you're actually looking to build on. The other thing that you want to be aware of is that a lot of times the MLS is kind of picked over. So you're not necessarily going to always find the best deals on the MLS. A lot of times the best deals that you're going to find are off market. So it's important to be in touch with some real estate agents, maybe wholesalers who are really boots on the ground and have access to deals that you're not going to see on Zillow or just online, because those are the deals that everyone is looking at. So the next step is, once you have the land, it's just to confirm the zoning and the feasibility. So you want to definitely take a look again at what you can build in a more granular way now. The zoning is going to tell you generally what you're allowed to build, but now the feasibility is more actually talking to an architect to confirm that you can lay out the home in the right way, that you can actually build really like the specifications that you want to build. These are things like, do you have to set back the 3rd story? Do you have to go through a variance to try and get parking? You have to go through a process with your architect and a zoning attorney sometimes to just figure out what can be built there by right. And if you want to build anything outside of the by right process, at that point, that's when you're going to trigger a variance. So just know that that's a whole other process in itself. And I'm going to do a video on that whole process that you can see on my page. But most developers, especially if you're just starting, you're going to want to probably stick to buy right projects, which means that just based on the zoning code alone, you can build everything that you want to build there without having to go through a variance. So step 2 is just running that feasibility and understanding what you can do by right without having to go through a variance. The next step is the design and permitting phase. So this is really where you're working closely with an architect who understands Philly zoning and LNI. You just want to make sure that whatever you're submitting, again, isn't gonna be outside of what the code allows, because then you would get a refusal, and that's when you have to go for a variance. So you want to submit for permits, and you don't want to have any risk of being denied, and that's where it's really important to have a good local architect who just knows the city's zoning code so that you don't run into any issues. If you do have to go through a variance, at that point, again, it's a whole separate process, but you would have to really go and get community support. You'd have to outreach to RCOs, which are registered community organizations, and then you'd have to eventually go in front of the Zoning Board of Adjustments to basically claim that you have a hardship and that you need a variance in order to build. But if you're gonna avoid all that and go by right, this process is really just about getting the design down pat and then getting the proper building permits in place so that you could start to put shovels in the ground. At this point, if you haven't already, you're gonna start to engage with a general contractor who can actually put together a construction budget based on what you've designed with the architect. So this is gonna vary depending on the finish level and the product type that you're building, but it's really important to have a good idea of what the full construction cost is gonna be, because you're also most likely going to need to secure financing for the construction, which, unless you're building and buying the entire development project in cash, you're going to need to go to a bank and actually show them what the budget is and then what the project is going to be worth once it's built, so that they can actually fund the project. And you're going to have to bring equity to the table. Sometimes if you find a great deal, the equity might be kind of built in, like you won't have to bring as much money because there's so much value in the deal, but typically you can expect to bring at least 30% of the total project costs, that's acquisition plus construction, to the table when you're getting funding. So you're gonna have to decide if you're gonna go hard money, if you're gonna go with construction loans, private capital, or again, you could just finance it yourself if you are flush with cash, but most people aren't, so they're probably gonna end up financing it. And just a tip, you definitely are going to want to use a builder who is very experienced in Philadelphia, and that is because this city is not the easiest to navigate. So throughout the construction process, you're going to have multiple different points of inspection with LNI. They're going to come out to the site and they're going to review the work that's being done. So if you have someone who's inexperienced in Philadelphia, that's going to be very difficult for you, because they're probably going to mess up at certain points and it's going to slow down the project. And honestly, like, one of the biggest things that can kill a development project is just time. If it continues to drag on, especially when you have financing in place and you're paying interest on that financing, if you don't have a builder who knows what they're doing and can actually build the product quite quickly, or at least in a reasonable time frame, it is definitely going to hurt your budget. And the last tip that I'll give you is you should really decide early on what you're gonna do with the property that you're developing, whether you're gonna sell it or whether you're gonna hold it, because really in the early stages, you make a lot of decisions that impact whether it's really a rental play or it's a play that you're gonna sell. So like, once the framing is up, you're gonna basically be able to make some field changes, but after that, you're pretty much stuck to whatever you designed. So you should definitely understand what you're building and who you're building it for really early on. And you should also partner with an agent who has specialized in this type of business, because they can really help you, first of all, design a product up front that is going to be very appealing either for sale or for rent. And then also during that entire development process, they can definitely walk the site with you and help you to value engineer the site to make changes that are going to help create a really good outcome at the end of the day. So just early on, you should really know what you're going for and then engage someone who can help you with that process. If you're thinking about developing in Philly or you're already in the game and want to scale up, definitely drop a comment or reach out to me. You could shoot me an email. And definitely do not forget to hit the like and subscribe button. I will see you next time.